we start off passionate about whatever we're doing. We start off passionate, that's human nature, for some of us anyway. And then we get a bit complacent, that's also human nature. We get a bit complacent, and then the results aren't as good, so we blame somebody else for our problems. That's always convenient to do. And then we get resentful, and then we get bitter, and then we die. You see, for a lot of people, that's the life journey. Passionate, complacent, resentful, bitter, and death. Okay, so I'm not a motivational speaker. But what would be wrong with passionate, and death? See, it's always going to end the same way. It's just the journey is so different. Do you still love what you do? Why is that important? Number one, because no one's going to love it more than you. Not your staff, not your customers. No one will love your business more than you do. No one will love what you sell more than you do. You are the source of joy and energy and light and passion in your business. If not you, who would it be? Who would it be? Do you still love what you do? And number two, you have a burning desire in your heart to do it better every day. Because I know a lot of people who love what they do, but they love doing it exactly the way they're doing it right now, and they have a commitment to never change, grow, or improve. And they're in trouble sooner or later. You love what you do. And how much time do we spend working in our business, and how much time do we spend working on our business? You are my perfect target audience. You have great results. And you're business owners, leaders, and managers. And that's who I work with all around the world. People who own, lead, or manage small and medium-sized businesses. Now, a medium-sized business could be $300–400 million in sales, so medium is kind of still pretty big. But my experience from having been a manufacturer, having been a retailer, and now doing this work for 20 years is that most of these kinds of folks spend about 95% of their time working in their business and 5%, 10 at the most, proactively working on the business, proactively managing the business, running the business, creating extraordinary value and an extraordinary and more profitable future. Today is about working on our business. Today is about working on the business. I congratulate you for committing to be here. Now, 3 reasons that we tend not to work on the business, but to work in it. Often we just don't have the tools. See, most people get into business not because they love or understand the business part of it, but because they're good at designing, making, selling, fixing, cooking, or growing something. But now we're in the business of doing that. Well, I don't know about that business part. No, I love doing. So we don't have the tools often. Number 2, we don't have the time. Number 3, we don't even know where to start. I'll help you figure out where to start. This is our Key Challenge audit sheet. Now, it's task number 1, and what we've done is we've put together a whole package which you will be able to download from our website. I'll tell you about that at the end. Well, you'll get all these tools and templates. But this is a Key Challenge audit sheet. It's 1 page. It takes 3 minutes to fill out and has 21 points. And what you do is you download it, you print it out, and you put an X beside each of the 21 business challenges that is now or could be a challenge in your business in the next 3 to 5 years. And now you know where to start, because anything you put an X beside is someplace that needs working on. Now, the other thing you can do with that when you get it, if you choose to get it, is you print out extra copies and you give some of them to your department managers or people who report to you, and you get them to fill it out and put X beside the challenges that they think are challenges now or could be in the next 3 to 5 years in the business, and see if everyone is singing from the same hymn sheet. Because if you and your team can't even agree on what the challenges are, how are we ever going to get together and fix them? And then the third thing you can do with the Key Challenge audit sheet is to say, and this won't work for all of you, but it will for some of you, how could I, meaning you, create a Key Challenge audit sheet for your business? How could you create your own Key Challenge audit sheet on 1 page that would become a terrific marketing tool? Here's how I do it in my business. I get calls sometimes during the day from people who say, oh, a friend of mine said that they heard you and we could really use you in our business or to speak to our association. How could you help us? I have no idea who they are. I have no idea what their challenges are. or their opportunities. So how can I possibly comment? And I say, thanks for calling. It's really great. While we're on the phone together, can you give me your email address and may I send you my Key Challenge audit sheet? It takes you 3 minutes to complete it. Do so honestly, email it back to me, and then call me, and we can have an intelligent conversation, because now I'll know what your best guess is about your challenges. And by the way, if you X off more than 8 of the 21 things, you should call me immediately. If you X off more than 12 of them, it may be too late, I may not be interested. So they tick off 18 of the 21, they call me, they're desperate, I haven't sold them a thing, they sold themselves. I have no idea they were that screwed up. So when you get the Key Challenge audit sheet, the question is, how could you use it in your business? Not it itself, but the idea, and then make up your own version. One of my favorite little concepts is that mediocrity is no longer an option. I am old enough, 70 years of age next month, I am old enough to remember when you could make a very good living being mediocre in any line of work. Who remembers when you could be pretty successful by being mediocre in any line of work? How many people think those days are still around? Anybody or are you just wishing and hoping? Because they're normal. Mediocrity is no longer an option, or as I like to put it, if we're trying to succeed in business today by being mediocre, once our customers have been to Disney World, we're screwed. We're doomed. Anyone been to Disney World? Who's been to Disney World? Anybody paid the extra $80 for the backstage tour? Who anteed up $80 to get into the bowels of the mouse? There's a visual for it. $80. Because as a business person, all you care about Disney is how they do it. 60,000 employees, mostly young people, mostly paid minimum wage, and mostly belong to the Teamsters Union. Mickey is a Teamster. Who would have guessed? Hire Mickey and I'm a Teamster. Who would have guessed? So, 60,000, mostly young people, mostly paid minimum wage, mostly belong to the Teamsters Union, and they deliver a world-class customer experience every day. For $80, they take you into the bowels of the mouse and show you. Like, that's the best $80 you could spend. Besides, you can write off the entire cost of the trip to Disney as a business expense because you're doing research. Now, I'm not a lawyer or an accountant and not legally authorized to express that opinion, but it worked for me. Mediocrity is no longer an option. We need to create the extraordinary. That's what we need to be, extraordinary. And if you break extraordinary down, it means extraordinary. It means above, beyond ordinary. This is a redesign of a parking garage. It's in Germany. It's not a tinkering, a fine-tuning of the traditional parking garage. No, it's a complete rethink of a parking garage. It's a round cylinder. You drive your car in that little hole in the bottom there. You drive it onto a pallet. You pay the guy some money, and he presses a computer button, and your car shoots up the shaft on the pallet, and the car is inserted into a space that you hope to heck is not already occupied by a previous vehicle. Because that's called a computer glitch. But here's the deal. This complete reinvention of what a parking garage could be takes up 80% less space, costs less to build, and retrieves cars faster. If you're the city manager of a city that is crowded and lots of historical buildings, some historical buildings are hysterical, but in downtown, so there's not much parking space downtown, but you've got to provide more parking. I mean, what are you interested in as a city manager? A parking garage that takes up 80% less space, costs less to build, and retrieves cars faster? 1, 2, 3. You see those compelling value statements? 1, 2, 3, just like that? What are your 1, 2, 3s? What's extraordinary about your business? And could you articulate it that easily? That's extraordinary. That's amazing. Stop being a commodity. Here's a guy who used to make traditional stainless steel barbecues. They all come from China now, and they retail for $350. He can't buy the stainless steel for $350. So he said, I'm getting out of the commodity business. I can't compete. I'm going to do specialty barbecues. I'm going to sell fewer barbecues for a lot more money that nobody will have the guts to knock me off. Now, he has a whole series of these done up in different designs. Now, this one sells particularly well where? In the South. Texas! I mean, he knows his burger, right? I don't know which way he's been stained, but he sells well. Stop being a commodity, be Extraordinary. Stand out. Do the work. Here's extraordinary service. I do a lot of work in the automotive aftermarket, and a lot of my customers are in the auto parts business. There is an auto parts distributor in Orillia, Ontario, north of Toronto, who does something that I've never seen in the auto parts distributor business. His customers are garage owners who own independent garages. So I'm the owner, I'm the head mechanic, I got 3 or 4 other mechanics working for me. They get to take a vacation, but I never get to take a vacation with my family because these 3 clowns I got working for me can't run the place while I'm away. So they get a vacation, but I don't. So you know what this outfit did? Perry Automotive, brilliant. They have area supervisors who are experienced garage mechanic people that have evolved in their life to be area supervisors for Perry Automotive. So for his best customers, he has one of his distributors go in and run your shop for you for a week so that you can take your wife on vacation. For the first time in 10 years. Now when you get back, if you even wanted to change auto parts suppliers, would your wife let you? No! You know what else he does? He has his accountant sit down with his good auto parts or auto repair shop customers, sit down and create a business plan so they can go to the bank and get a line of credit. Because they have no idea how to write a business line and get a line of business plan and get a line of credit. Now, what does that mean? They have enough money to pay their bills on time. How clever is that? So he had a credit problem. These garages weren't paying their bills on time. So what did he do? Whine? No! He got his accountant to help them write a business plan so they could get a line of credit and have the cash flow, and have the cash available to pay their invoices. See, that's just kind of creative. He's just brilliant at service. And then what are you going to be famous for? Yard House restaurants in America are famous. There's a whole bunch of them across America. World's largest selection of draft beer. What are you famous for? Not Hollywood famous. Famous in your market for your target customers. You don't give a damn what anyone else thinks of you. So not your target customers, what do we care? Nice people, but we don't give a damn. They have over 150 types of draft beer, including gluten-free beer. That's for people with celiac disease who still want to get drunk. You know, I mean, like, you're sick, but you really want to get drunk. Fine, we got gluten-free beer. And they have beer and ice cream floats. Now that's making me gag. Anybody? I mean, I'm thinking college students throwing up in the parking lot right there. Shouldn't have had 2 of those. No. Oh, God. Anyway, but it's just, it's bizarre. It's bizarre, and it gets them talked about. It makes them famous. There's a country store in Coombs, British Columbia, that's known for what? Anybody know about them? Thousands of people a year come to have a look at the goats on a roof. They put grass on the roof. It's an angled roof, and they got a family of goats living up there. And you put goats on a roof into the internet, and you'll see YouTube videos, all kinds of a little country store in a town that nobody ever heard of. And they're famous for goats on a freaking roof. I mean, that's very cool. What are you famous for? Are you legendary? See, that's like one step up from famous. You're a legend. And you don't have to spend as much money on advertising when you're a legend because everybody else is doing your advertising for you. Who's heard of Red Adair? I mean, we're an oil and gas country. Red Adair was he's passed away now, but Red Adair was the famous American oil well firefighter. And Red Adair, it was never about price when you called Red Adair. He was just the best in the world. And specialized in one thing, putting out oil well fires. Not house fires, not factory fires, not mine fires, just oil well fires. Best in the world. And Red Adair had a great expression. He said, if you think it's expensive to hire a professional, try hiring an amateur. But here's another legend. Boston Whaler Boats. They even got it nailed. The unsinkable legend. It's not the unsinkable boat. It's the unsinkable legend. Magical marketing. Now, did they just take any old typical boat and just slap a Madison Avenue advertising slogan on it? No. They redesigned it. They created a boat in a whole new way, engineered it, manufactured it in a whole new way with solid foam in place between an inner hull and an outer hull. And this is how they demonstrate it's unsinkable. They take a chainsaw and cut the darn thing in half and just drive that half around the marina, and you go, gotta have one of those. You see, when you're a legend, when you're that good, communicating your value ain't that tough, because it's clearly amazing. Are you a legend? You know, we can all be extraordinary. Don't need to be a fancy pants company, don't need an MBA, don't need any of that stuff. You just need to commit to being extraordinary. And my favorite extraordinary story is Dan the Dangerous Tree Man. Now, we have a cottage up north of Toronto, and on the property line next to our weasel neighbor. How many people have a weasel neighbor? Yeah, well, look up the word weasel in the dictionary. There's a picture of my neighbor. There's a fine example. Anyway, we got this huge oak tree, and it was dying. This tree was so big, you and I couldn't both touch our hands around it. Why we want to, but just for fun, we couldn't do it. So big. And it was dying. And it went up about 30 feet, huge, and then it branched off into 3 big parts, one over the property line, over my neighbor's cottage roof, and one over some power lines and our bunky sleeping cabin. We have a bunky sleeping cabin. That's where you put people you don't want to actually let into the house. And then the main cottage house. So this huge tree is dying, and I got to deal with it. So I open the yellow pages to tree removal. And I'm looking for big ads, because I got a big tree. So I'm thinking, if they got a big ad, they can deal with big trees, right? And so I picked 3 companies, I called them, made arrangements for them to come over, have a look at the tree. Individually they did, a couple of different days. They came over, got out of their truck, walked over to the property line, looked up and said, can't do her, it's too dangerous. Walked away. The next day I was driving up to the little town of Gravenhurst to do some shopping, and I passed this truck. Well, not exactly. I walked it up. I didn't have a camera with me. Walked it up for you. And I passed this truck on the highway, and Dan the Dangerous Tree Man, expert tree removal. And the phone number. You know, sometimes the universe just brings you what you need, right? And there we go. Dan, so I wrote his number down. I called him. He came over the next day, got out of his truck, walked over to the property line. He looked up and he said, I can do her, but it won't be cheap. I said, Dan, how uncheap it going to be? He said, I'm thinking $6 grand. Yeah, that was my reaction too. I said, $6 grand. I said, Dan, it says in Scripture, only God can make a tree, but apparently it takes Dan and $6 grand to make one buck around. He said, but it isn't going to cost you $6 grand. I said, you're going to cut your price? He said, not on your life. No way. Not going to cut it. I said, so how is it not going to cost me $6 grand? He said, I'm going to give you the name of 3 sawmills that will compete to buy your logs. He said, good white oak logs are so scarce nowadays. And he said, this is a magnificent tree. It's dying, but it's not dead. And the lumber's still good. I'm going to give you the name of 3 sawmills. They'll compete to buy your logs. I'm thinking $3,800. Expert tree removal. I said, what about the smaller stuff? He said, I'm going to cut that into firewood. She said, at your age, you'll never have to buy firewood again. He said, now you got 2 chimneys. You got 2 chimneys on your cottage roof. He said, do you have wood stoves or fireplaces? Do you mind if I go in and measure them so I know which size length to cut the firewood so she burns good? And he said, by the way, you're going to stack it up to dry. It'll take 1.5 years to dry and cure so she burns good. Do not stack it up between those live trees along your driveway, because then bugs will go from the firewood into the live trees, and it could kill the live trees, and you're not going to like us for that. Said a lot of city folks don't know that. I said, Dan, how are you going to do this when 3 other people turned it down? Too dangerous. He said, oh, they haven't learned to partner. Have you, in your business, learned to partner? Who are you partnering with to do the tough stuff, the profitable stuff? He said, I partner with KCR Cranes, the big crane outfit down on the highway just north of Aurelia there. And he said, I partner with them for these tough jobs, and the other people haven't figured that out yet. And he said, we're going to bring their biggest crane. He said, we've got to bring their biggest, very expensive, $600 an hour. And he said, we're going to park it in on the driveway there. We're going to shoot up over the bunkie cabin, tie a rope on it first, up at the end of it, and then shoot it up over the buggy and the power lines and over to the tree, and I climb up the tree, and I tie the rope on to the first part of the tree, and I cut that off with my chainsaw, and then he lifts that up safely over the wires, and the buggy lays it down on the driveway behind him, swings it around, and we just, piece by piece, he said, take us a day, take the whole tree down safely. Who are you partnering with? I said, Dad, that's an expensive crane. Couldn't we get a smaller, cheaper crane and come right here on the lawn, around here, and right closer to the tree with a cheaper, smaller crane? Oh, he said, can't do that. I said, why not? He said, you got a beautiful lawn here. It's been a dry summer. Your lawn is gorgeous and green, and your gardens are magnificent. And he said, you got an in-ground watering system, don't you? He said, you got small, fragile plastic pipes, about that big. We're running 4 inches underground all over this property. And if we run a smaller crane of any size, a truck of any size, in here on the grass closer, he said, we're going to snap all those pipes off and wreck your watering system, have to dig it all up and replace it. You're not going to like us for that. Expert tree removal. I think so. I said, Dan, would you like the check now or later? He said, now works for me. You know, cash flow. Cash flow is king, right? One of the #1 reasons for small business failure is failure to collect receivables on a timely basis. So he said, oh, that works for me now. And I said, fine. Called my wife out with the checkbook, and I said, Dan, while my wife's writing the check, I got 2 questions. Do you mind? He said, for $6 grand, you can have 3 questions. I only got 2. I said, number 1, this work that you do, Dan, is it really dangerous? And Dan said a very interesting thing. He said, Cooper, every business is dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. Wisdom from a guy with a pickup truck and 2 chainsaws. No fancy pants guy. His wardrobe comes from the cold. He's got a pickup truck and 2 chainsaws. And he knows that every business is dangerous if we don't know what we're doing. Smart guy. I said, second question, Dan, why do you do the tough stuff? He said 2 reasons for that. Number 1, it pays better. It's never about price when they call Dan. Number 2, he said, it makes my heart smile. I got a guy with 2 chainsaws in a pickup truck talking about his heart smiling, and I like that. He said, every day on my way home after doing these kinds of jobs, he said, every day back home with my wife and kids in the truck, I just think I did stuff again today that nobody else could do, stuff that people turned down. I made a difference in people's lives when other people walked away from them, and I make a very good living doing that, and that, he said, makes my heart smile. Pays better and makes my heart smile. I don't know a better combination in business than that, do you? I don't. We can all be extraordinary. And when we're extraordinary, we can create fans, not just customers. I tell the Dan story all over the world. I'm like his marketing director. Are we creating customers or fans? Microsoft has customers. Apple has fans. I love my iPod. I love my iPad. People line up for hours when they open a new store or launch a new product. The only time people lined up for Microsoft was to return Vista. Wow, long line here. Oh, the crowd. How do we know when we have fans? They use the word love. They use the word love. I love that restaurant. I love that manufacturer. I love that accountant. I love that lawyer. See, that's the difference. See, here's the thing. Customers give you business. Fans help you grow your business. Huge difference. Fans help you grow it because they tell 14 other people. What they say about you is far more believable than what you say about you. Part of that's about making emotional connections. This is the Marriott Desert Ridge Resort in Scottsdale, Arizona, right on the edge of the desert. And the hotel is magnificent, hundreds of millions of dollars to build it, to furnish it, to staff it magnificently. But I've never, other than me, seen anyone taking pictures of the hotel, the furnishings, or the staff. Everyone is out on the grass, around the pool, in the gardens, on their knees, taking pictures of the bunnies that are absolutely free. Hundreds of millions of dollars to build that hotel. And bunnies every day. They're wild bunnies. They hop in out of the desert because this is a lot better food than they're getting in the desert. And they didn't plan it. They didn't expect it. It just happened. So what did they do? Say, we got to get rid of the damn bunnies. Put up a chicken wire. No! They got it. They said that's what people will never forget. Because that's what makes an emotional connection. And I've spoken in that hotel 6 times in the last few years because they had a lot of conventions there. And people are down on their hands and knees, sneaking up on the bunnies with their cameras. And this guy, I'm the only person that ever took his picture. I said, get a bunny suit. He said, I've been thinking about it. Simple acts of kindness are extraordinary. There's a collision repair shop in Prince Edward Island that puts a little thank you note and a rose on the passenger seat when women customers come to pick up their repaired vehicle. You run into a tree or go into a ditch or you've got T-boned or something and your car's damaged, you feel a bit foolish, and you feel awkward. Now you come to pick it up and there's a thank you note and a rose. Why is that so powerful? It's because they're the only body shop in the world that does it. I spoke yesterday for one of Canada's largest banks, not the one who is sponsoring this event. And I included this slide in my 90-minute presentation. And I had a 20-minute phone conversation with them when they reviewed all my slides and they said, I don't think we can leave that one in. And I said, why not? They said, well, it could be considered to be stalking. Any woman in this room, if you went to pick up your car at a collision repair shop and there was a thank you note and a rose, would feel that you were being stalked? I mean, we're just like, get a grip. We cashed the check already, so it didn't matter what I said. And they said the second problem is it's sexist because they don't do it for men. I said, I gotta tell you, if I come to pick up my car at an auto repair body shop, don't get ahead of me here. And there's a thank you note and a rose from the guy that took the dents out of my car. That is stalking. They didn't laugh. Simple acts of kindness are extraordinary. You see, ultimately, it's about joy and gratitude. And I know this sounds airy-fairy, but it's real. What you sell, it's probably a commodity or close to it. Whatever product or service you sell, there's way too many other people selling it. How do we differentiate ourselves? Well, a good part of it is through joy and gratitude. I'm on a personal campaign to bring joy and gratitude to the whole damn world. I fly about 150 times a year, spend a lot of time going through airport security. What are the 2 questions they ask at airport security? Do you have a laptop in that bag? I open it up, I say, I have Larry. I introduce them to Larry the laptop. Look at that, meet Larry. Look at that, hello Larry. And so, I think, well, you have a name for your laptop? I say, yeah, I'm on the road 240 days a year with my laptop. May as well be on a first name basis. What's the second question they always ask? Do you have anything in your pockets? I say, no, my first wife got everything. And they laugh. Now, it's technically not true. My second wife got quite a bit too. So, third time lucky. 22 years. I only dated 6 women, but I married 3 of them. I stuttered as a teenager. I have no qualifications for this line of work, folks. I stuttered as a teenager. I grew up pathologically shy. I didn't start dating until I was 23. And when someone went up with me twice, I thought, close the sale. I confused dating with marriage. I thought if they go up with you twice, close the sale. Did that twice. But 22 years of somebody knowing me well and loving me anyway. I get it now. Isn't that the definition of true love? When someone knows you really well and loves you anyway. Anyway, so I make them laugh. My first wife got everything. 5 months later, I'll go through the same airport. Look, there's the guy whose first wife got everything. And they laugh again. Now, I still get the full body cavity search. But it's by someone who is sort of giggling and laughing. I just feel it's better. And then the gratitude part. So I just think joy is a great thing to bring to people's lives. It's pretty powerful. And then gratitude. When I pack everything up at the end, when they've looked at everything, and before I go to my gate, I turn and I look them all straight in the eye, the whole security group, and I say this: thank you for keeping us safe. And you know what they always say? Nobody ever thanks us. Joy and gratitude. what